Thank you. Welcome to JBoss World and Red Hat Summit. It's great to see you guys all here today. Every year that we've been holding Summit, it seems to get certainly many more people coming to it and a lot more excitement every single year. We have tremendous momentum. At the JudCon conference, which we've been holding now for developers, we had over 500 people over the last 2 days. We're going to have well over 3,000 people at Summit. So this open source thing is really starting to take off. In the next few days, you're going to have a lot of interesting things to see, a lot of interesting people to meet and discuss. And some of the excitement is in the last 2 weeks, in the JBoss product line, we've introduced 5 new products. You're going to hear a lot about those new products this week. But in addition to those products, you're going to see a lot of other technologies and a lot of other themes. You're going to hear a lot about platform as a service. You're going to see JBoss in our OpenShift platform. You're going to see new products for conducting application integration. You're going to see mobile technology to create mobile applications. And we're also going to be talking a lot about big data. You're going to see how you can create applications using big data concepts. So JBoss is really on a roll. It's tremendous to see the community adoption that we have, the community momentum, the number of projects that we have, but more importantly, the amount of customers that are beginning to really deploy and use JBoss technology as their middleware standard in their organization. And there are 5 or 4 factors that are really driving this role, this adoption. And the first factor is developer. As you all know, JBoss has always been about the developer, and the developer comes first. We're trying to make the best technology to help developers get their job done, to create applications, and doing it in the most productive way. And this year, we've introduced a concept that you'll hear about during the show called JBoss Way. JBoss Way is an architectural approach and a methodology to help applications get built more easily and more quickly. And you're going to see a lot about JBoss Way, and I hear a lot about it in the community and a lot about it in the products that we offer. The next factor for this growth is ecosystem. We've always had a great ecosystem in terms of the developer community, but we also have lots of companies and partners out in the marketplace that are really helping us along. We've added hundreds of new solution providers this year that are building solutions based on JBoss technology. And we've brought in a lot of ISVs that are now committing to the JBoss platform. We have over 1,000 certified ISV companies. We have over 1,400 applications that have been certified on EAP and other JBoss technology. The next factor is leadership. Leadership is absolutely important to continue this momentum. And we've always been a leader in the community development, but we're also a leader in the marketplace. You'll see this week, we're the first vendor in the marketplace to offer a JEE 6 solution as a cloud offering within our OpenShift solution. So we're the first ones to have JEE 6 full profile in the cloud. But we're also a leader in the standards. We believe in standards. We believe in the open source way. And we're still leading and providing leadership within the JCP. We did it with the CDI spec in JEE 6. And we're adding new specifications for EE7, and we're working with other communities beyond the JBoss community as well. And finally, the fourth factor is the customer. The customer at the end of this whole entire process and this momentum is most important to us. Every year, we run a survey to find out how we're doing with our customers. We commission it outside of the company. And for the 5th year in a row, JBoss was nominated as with the highest customer satisfaction among all middleware technology and all middleware vendors out in the marketplace. We're extremely proud of that. So as I mentioned, five products that we shipped in this last 2 weeks. Last week and this week, we're making announcements. So the first product, very, very important for us, our flagship product, EAP, Enterprise Application Platform, our application server product in the marketplace. So the unique thing about, we announced this last week, it has tremendous amount of buzz right now. We designed this version of EAP to be cloud ready. So the architecture is conducive to a cloud deployment. It's in OpenShift. It's the engine. It's one of the engines in OpenShift for writing Java applications. It's extremely flexible. the way that you can deploy it and add and subtract services dynamically within that environment. It uses extremely small amount of resources, a very, very low memory footprint, lower than any other Java platform in the marketplace. And we've added a lot of manageability capabilities to it to be manageable in the cloud environment as well as be more manageable on-prem. So you're going to hear a lot about this product this week. The second product we're very excited about. This is a brand new product in the JBoss portfolio. It didn't exist a year ago. It's been baking in the community, and we released it and launched it last week as a product. This is JBoss Data Grid. As you all know, and all the buzz and the hype about big data is a real issue now. The amount of data that is being generated, especially with web-based applications and cloud-based applications, is phenomenal. And so how do applications deal with this data? They can't continue to use relational databases as the primary store. So what JBoss Data Grid is, it is our NoSQL data store. It's a distributed cache environment. And it allows you to load your data and manage your data in memory without having to add more relational database resources. So it starts to move you away from having to do everything relationally. We're very excited about this product. We had tremendous amount of interest before we even shipped it because of the use within the community project called Infinispan that you may have heard of. You're going to be hearing a lot about this product this week. And finally, in our integration area, when we look at our product portfolio, we basically have two broad areas. One is application platforms, and EAP is the flagship in that side. And then the other is application integration projects and products. You're going to see a lot more about application integration, especially in today and throughout the week. So we just announced yesterday our new release of our business rules management system, what we call JBoss BMS 5.3. This is one of the hottest products that we have in the portfolio right now. You would not believe the growth rate of this product as well as just the general buzz and excitement about this product. I consider this product one of the best of breed in the marketplace. It allows a company to be able to manage their application logic and integration more flexibly without having to commit all the logic to code. So you can now actually move the setting of rules, the setting of logic, even back into the end user, and the business user can take control of that. Think of insurance claims processing and have to readily change your logic based on regulation changes and things like that. We've added two very, very important features to this, which is process flow technology as well as workflow technology. So you're seeing BRMS, and this is the beginning of what is becoming a full BPM solution for us. And I'm going to introduce another customer on stage who's done a lot of work with our rules community as well as BRMS. So Gustavo Ahreri is the CIO of OSDE. OSDE is the largest healthcare provider in Argentina. They cover about 2 million lives. They have about 85,000 doctors and practitioners. And they were a very early user. Not only did they use the enterprise version of the product, but they're an active participant in the community. With that, Gustavo, can you come on stage? Welcome.
Hi, Clay. How are you?
Good. So you began with the rules product in the community first, and you contributed a lot. You're actually very active. You have people that are actually writing code and working in the community. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that. How's that community experience been?
In my opinion, the community is the soul of the open source projects. An open source project without a strong user participation is like a project without a soul. It's a zombie project, yeah? Let me explain in more detail, digamos. The community is very important in 3 ways. The first one is how the community participates in when you define the product roadmap. Yeah, the community contributes not only in user requirement, contribute in the user vision. The second, it's when the community can check the quality of the architecture software. Yeah? Quality architecture, quality design based on standards, it's critical to future adaptability and for easy maintenance. And the last one is when the community help to fix bugs or to find workarounds for problems very quickly.
Right.
Yeah? In conclusion, the community is the greatest advantage that open source projects have over the others.
So a community provides better vision, better requirements, better quality, and thereby allowing you to have a better product.
Exactly.
Excellent,
yes.
excellent. What, so you're also using BRMS then too. So you went from community development and participating in the community to using the enterprise product. How has that worked for you?
Let me say something. I have bad news and good news for that. Yeah. The bad news first. Yeah. The bad news is that the companies have new demands for the IT departments. The IT departments are in serious troubles. What kind of demands? First, the company said we need more software, more applications. The second said we need in less time. But they don't want the same kind of application. They want an application more flexible and smarter. And then said, we need information, we need understand information, we need to take decisions in real time. We can't deal with this kind of demands with a standard way to build software. Yeah? You need a different paradigm. Yeah? I think that the paradigm may be a new architecture, a new platform that based in 4 pillars. First pillar is BPM and BRMS platform. Second pillar is the collaboration platforms. Third pillar is data grids. And fourth pillar is CEP platform. Yeah? But all this technology working together like one. The good news now. The good news is the enterprise products have several solutions to match this new paradigm. Yeah. And we find this solution this way. And now the IT department are not a heavy load for a company. Now we can, with this technology, we can push the business to other levels. Yeah?
Excellent, excellent. Just one final question. Any advice for some of your colleagues to how they might participate in the community?
Yeah, I think the community, the open source project is great, but you need to take something in account. It's the innovation. It's not only technology. You need capability of your team to implement that technology. Yeah, and take your time and create a good team.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So working in the community helps them get ready for the technology. Excellent.
Yeah.
Gustavo, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. So it's become sort of a tradition with JBoss World. We like to get our hands dirty and show you some technology. And there's been years past where we put some technology up on the screen. We were just talking about that with some of my colleagues before we started, where we're still trying to get everything to work and getting the demo. Everybody's biting their fingernails, but we plan on pulling it off without a glitch this year. You're going to see some technology related to BRMS, which we just described, and a lot of new technology that we've been working on over the last 12 months gives you an idea where we're heading. And to do this, I'd like to introduce Burr Sutter from our product management team. Burr, come on up.
Thank you.
Rock and roll.
All right. So thank you guys very much for your time and attention today. We're going to have some fun. We're going to do a live demonstration. We're going to take advantage of this Wi-Fi conference. We're going to, in other words, the conference Wi-Fi. We're going to have people on 3G, 4G. We're going to have people in the audience interacting with our demonstration. So we're gambling every possible way we can. All right, so we're going to have some fun with that. So what we've done is, you guys have just heard about BRMS, JBoss BRMS, and you guys also heard about EAP6. And if you heard about the announcement this morning, EAP6 running at OpenShift, we thought, you know what, with all that brand new stuff we just announced yesterday and today, let's build a demo out of that and see if we can run it live for everybody here in the audience today. So that's what we've done. We've actually put BRMS on EAP6 up at OpenShift, and then we've extended that business rule application, that business process application, to mobile applications that some of you now are running on your phone here in the audience. So we had Steve and James walk around earlier recruiting sales staff from the audience. You guys were either downloading the application or accessing the mobile web side of the application. And so you're going to get a chance to interact with us later on as we get through this. You should keep in mind that with BRMS, we have a modeling environment that we're going to show you a little bit more. We also have the mobile application to interact with it. And then we have a monitoring environment we're going to show you as well. So this is going to be very exciting for us on the stage, as well as for all of you as well, I hope. So let's get started. So Chris right here is our JBPM project lead. He's been the key guy driving our adoption of BPMN2 and standards-based business process development, getting that integrated with the business rules system. So we're very excited to have you, Chris. So Chris, can you tell us a bit more about what you see in BRMS 5.3? What do you think is new and cool about BRMS 5.3?
Yeah, so one of the new things that we introduced in BRMS 5.3 is the support for business processes. So that means that you can now use business processes to model, deploy, execute, and manage your business logic. So that includes support for the BPMN2 standard, adaptive and flexible processes, et cetera.
So what's really neat about that is we actually have holistically pulled all this together in one single package, one single product. Can you show us more of that technology?
Yeah, sure. So what I'm showing here is actually the BRMS web-based application. And as you can see, we have support for multiple types of business logic or business assets. So there's things like business rules, which in this case is a simple web-based decision table. You can define your domain model. You have business processes. There's also other assets like task forms that could be included, et cetera. And so all of that managed in one application. And if you want to start developing your business processes, so I can show you here I just created a new business process, and I can just start dragging and dropping from the building blocks from the palette on one side and start filling in the implementation details in the properties. So for example, let me just start with a simple process. There's a start event, and then let's assume that the first thing that I want to do is some evaluation of some business rules, for example. So I can then create a new task, and I can create a business rule task, and then I can fill in some details, specify what rules need to be evaluated, but then afterwards I can do a decision or a parallel gateway. So in this case, I'm going to do some things in parallel. For example, let's assume that your process includes a business user, an end user who needs to participate in the process. There's also specific types for that, so you can use a user task for that. There's a lot of default building blocks that are available out of the box, things like timers, so you can escalate, et cetera. So you can just use the building blocks, fill in all the necessary execution details, and you have an executable business process.
Well, you know what's neat about this is you're sitting here in the web browser, designing, dragging, and dropping these symbols on screen, putting the lines together, and that's an executable business process.
Yeah, exactly. So we see these as a collaboration environment where our business analysts, end users can collaborate with developers on creating this business logic and ending up with something high level, but which is executable as well.
Well, you know what's interesting about that to me personally is JBoss has always been about, for the Java programmer, we've been very focused on Java programmers, but in this case, non-Java programmers can be involved in the design of the business process and the design of the business logic.
Exactly.
Can you show us the business process we're going to be using here in the demonstration today?
Yeah, so for the demo today, we actually created a simple process. So some of you have received a card, and you'll be participating in this application. You'll be buying stuff from the JBoss toy store. So each order that comes in will then be managed by this process. And so this process, first it does some initialization. We're going to then do a risk assessment. So that means that based on some rules, we're going to decide whether the order that is coming in is either a high risk or a low risk order. Then the order will go through a review phase. So there will someone be looking at it and either approving or rejecting it. And if it is a high-risk order, in this case, we're going to delegate it to our VP as well, because we want to make sure that those those important orders get additional attention. And so that, Jay over there, he's our VP today. He will be managing that. And so for those who will be participating in the game, it's probably important to know the rules of the game. So the way that we implemented it now is that all orders above $500 will need this additional review. And it might be also important to know that Jay will be rejecting any orders above $3,000. So if you're participating in the game, make sure you take that into account.
So I see the design of the flows. I can understand how this thing moves from end to end, but where are the actual business rules where we define the $500?
Yeah, so you can see I'm using a business rule task here, which is actually referencing some rules. In this case, we use the simple web-based decision table. So this web-based decision table, it's a relatively simple one. It's going to decide whether you're either high risk or low risk, based on, in this case, only the amount of the order, but you could easily extend that to take other things into account. So you can see that orders between 0 and 500 are considered low risk, and orders above 500 are considered high risk.
So what you're telling me here is we have a spreadsheet-looking thing, and we have this diagram-looking thing, and that's the business logic for our application.
Yeah, all of this is fully executable.
Well, I want to compile some code. Well, I guess we'll have to worry about that some other way. But so we have the business logic defined here, and so you can see how it's done in the spreadsheet. You can see how it's done in the workflow. But what we've done is we've extended this business process out of the cloud to the computer in your pocket. So we've extended it to the mobile application. So let's talk more about that mobile application. So thank you very much, Chris. So now we're going to talk to Jay. Jay is the lead of our AeroGear project, and Jay has some specific mobile devices over here to show us today. Jay, what do you got for us over here?
So as Chris and Burr both mentioned, a few of you were recruited to be our salespeople today. And you received a card like this that had a couple of links on it. One link is to a mobile web application that you can bring up on any smartphone. The other was to an enterprise app store offering called AppBlade from one of our partners. And you would have seen a screen that looks a lot like this, where it does device detection, and you're able to actually install a native application that we created onto your phone.
It looks like it has Android support, iOS support.
And BlackBerry support as well.
Okay.
And you're able to manage those versions.
This being an iPad here you see on screen, it only allows me to install the iOS device, but we can install Android as well.
Yep.
How many people here got that card and are actually part of our sales team today? Because we don't know who you are. Raise your hand, please. All right, fantastic. So thank you very much.
Excellent. So another part of AppBlade is the console where you're actually able, where managers and IT departments are actually able to provision those applications, manage the users, manage the versions, who has access to what. And as we can see here, we actually have 28 total people who have installed the application, 14 on iPhone, 12 on Android, and you can give it different permissions and details and drill into different things.
Well, one thing I like about this, for those of you guys who are now our temporary sales staff we recruited today, at some point we may have to fire you guys, in which case, if you're not performing well, that's what happens, and then guess what? We take your app away. So with this enterprise app store, we're not dealing with iTunes necessarily, we're actually dealing with our own internal application, as you guys were recruited to run our internal application.
Right. This application was actually signed with Red Hat's own Apple Enterprise Developer Certificate, and that means that we can install it without iTunes. You can manage it internally, but it also means that we can shut it off, and so we'll be doing that after the demo today.
We'll be shutting it down later today. So let's talk more about the application, though, that interacts with the business process. So this is how we provision the app to those people here in the audience who downloaded the app using that QR code we provided.
Right.
But what does it mean to show the client side of it? What is the salesperson actually interacting with? What is his application? It's on the iPhone right here.
Right, exactly. So here we have my iPhone, and I've actually installed that native application. And we wrote this native application using HTML5 and jQuery Mobile. And we extended the rules from JPPM, expose those through RESTful services, and then access those with jQuery from the phone. Now, we also then use, which works, by the way, that works great for mobile web, but we also took it and used Apache Cordova to actually create that native application that you downloaded, all from the same code base.
So we have one code base, HTML5, basically an HTML5 application, pushed through Cordova, and interacting with the RESTful services up in the cloud on OpenShift, running with BRMS and EAP6, as you see those guys running over there.
Yep.
Can you show us how this application actually works?
Yeah, sure. So all I did is started to view my catalog. I'm going to put in a couple of orders here, selecting different options. It's kind of a typical workflow for a shop, right?
Add it to your cart, place the order.
Exactly.
And you can also see, funny enough, that several more people have downloaded the app here just recently. You can see the numbers going up.
Perhaps we've intrigued some people.
Exactly. You guys want to run this application now, don't you?
Exactly. So we also have some Red Hat gear. We have AeroGear water bottles and Arai hoodies. And
everyone needs more hoodies and water bottles, that's for sure. Let's get some of those in our shopping cart.
Yep.
Do we have some high-dollar items in there as well?
Yeah. Let me.
I could use a new phone. My phone's sitting over there. It's busted, so maybe we can get me a new phone. But so we can take more orders into the system, but what happens once those orders start hitting the system? What basically do we start seeing happen there?
Right, so what happens once those orders are actually in the system is that it goes through those rules that we used that we talked about earlier. So if it's under $500, those rules get applied and that first level approval takes care of it. If it doesn't, if it's above $500, the VP actually has to manage those. And this is the VP interface to that same application, written with the same technology.
Same architecture, HTML5 on the client side, interacting with RESTful services on BRMS and the AP6.
That's right. And so I'm able to view any open orders that happen to be there.
So we have to look for some large orders. We don't have any large orders in the system right now. We'll have to take some more orders as we go. But the VP will approve those, and if the VP is keeping up, then we'll see those orders flowing through the system.
That's right.
Now, once the VP approves those, we're working our way through that workflow diagram you saw earlier. Where does the data go then?
So at that point, the data actually triggers events on the server side, and we have up here our leaderboard application, which was written with one of our projects, Ahreri, which takes advantage of GWT to actually create a client and server-side distributed application that can be programmed using one programming model, the Java EE6 programming model.
So what's really interesting about the Ahreri technology, taking advantage of Google Web Toolkit, again, the E6 programming model with CDI eventing on the server side, as things are changing within that business process, those are business events that are occurring that are being analyzed and pushed dynamically out to the browser. So as you guys are putting orders into the system, and Jay can put in some more orders and approve some orders, you will actually see those charts changing in real time. You also see how many people we have signed up. We have approximately 26 signed up on either side of this now. So we have the East Coast over here, that's this side of the audience. We have the West Coast over here, that's this side of the audience. So that's hopefully you guys logged in on the correct side. That was explained to you. You know, you didn't think, left versus right, I don't understand. So we have about equal numbers of people. And you can see that we already have some orders in the system. Jay has actually processed $524.98 already.
Right.
So you can see that pushing into the system.
And now that I actually submitted that other order, I am actually able to approve that order as the VP. I can tell whether or not I want to approve it. I can either approve or reject it. So when I do that, you just saw the leaderboard over here jump up.
Okay.
With a different value because I've actually approved that
So
order.
you can see Jay's in the lead early on with $1,824.96. Now, some of you guys are wondering, wait a second, I thought I was a sales rep. We were hired. I can't play with this application right now. That's because we don't allow you in just yet. So how many people are sitting there going, hey, this thing's not working right now? So here's what we're about to do. So Jay, we're good. So we have a vice president. We've shown you the business process. We've shown you the business rules and the actual application. At this point, the store is open to all those sales reps we have in the audience. So if you guys would go ahead now and start looking at the shopping cart items, you will see the things in the catalog. Maybe you want a new iPhone, or maybe you want a Samsung phone, or you might want the iPad that's in there. Or specifically, you might want to, you got to get those T-shirts and hoodies. And my favorite one is the Code Thug sleeveless tee. Everybody wants to buy one of those and give it to me. Right, so I really want that one. So we'll see people making orders now. You can see Matt D has jumped up to second place right behind Jay Balunas over here on the east side. So Jay is still leading with $1,824 over on the east side. On the west side, you got me over here at $749, but certainly Craig has got in for $499, and Jay Battisti, $499. So a lot of $499s. I know what product that is in the catalog. But keep in mind, what you guys are doing is our extended sales team. You guys are making orders. So you're out there visiting our customers, putting orders in the system, and interacting with our customers. And what you're going to really do is give this away. And that's why we have this approval workflow that has to occur. So a simple shopping cart application, like you would see at Best Buy or Walmart or any other mobile web application or mobile application. And then you can see those orders flowing into the system. So some people are moving along here. You can see that Craig has now moved to first place on the west side with $1,999. Well, and then looks like I keep ordering as well, so I'm doing really well at $1,249. I like how the meters turn and all that. So this is an HTML5 web-based application. So in real time, we're driving it, showing you the interactions that are coming in through the Wi-Fi, through the 3G, depending on how you guys are connected, and then pushing those orders into our system now. So it's all going up to OpenShift, going up to BRMS. It's going up to EAP6, running in the cloud, and then coming back down on stage and pushing through these laptops right here. You'll notice we run our Windows 7 leaderboard over here. We have our Linux leaderboard over here for the central, the global, and then you can see a Mac leaderboard also. So an HTML5 application, fully portable across multiple operating systems, taking advantage of that Ahreri technology in this leaderboard. So we certainly have a lot of people now putting orders into the system. You can see them flowing in. But we notice we have a rather large backlog forming. So right here, we're at $27,000, it looks like. So we seem to be a backlog, and of course, this is money, right? We want to know where the money's going. So let's see if we figure that out. Chris, can you tell us where that backlog is?
Yeah,
so here on laptop 2.
Yeah, so we're actually seeing that there's a large backlog building up, and well, we want to figure out what's actually going on. So we can go to the process designer in this case, and we're going to show you a view of the process diagram, but annotated with where all these orders are sitting. So as you can see, well, there's been over 100 orders currently in the system, like 71 already went through, but there's something blocking here. You can see that there are actually 30 orders waiting for the VP review. So Jay, have you actually been doing anything?
So he wants to make sure he wins the game. So what basically happened here, we just gave you a few moments, and you already pumped in 122 orders into the system. We have our visual process monitor here, so just like the process diagram, we can see where the problem is. There's the bottleneck. How do we fix that bottleneck? Do we got to fire our vice president? Maybe hire another one?
Well, in this case, what we actually realize is that all you guys are ordering items which are more than $500. GA basically cannot keep up. So maybe we should change our business process. So maybe we should only do more important orders and channel those to GA and more automatically process some of those.
Yeah, that would be very important. If there's a way to change the business process and business rules without having to write a bunch of code and change that, because compilation can be tough for me. So let's see what we can do here.
Yeah, so as I showed, there was a web-based decision table that we were using to define this. So I can actually dynamically change this and then say, let's, for example, make sure that only orders which are above $1,500 would go to J in this case. So I can just edit this in the web-based editor. I can save my changes, and I can push these into production, so the new rules will be applied.
So what you're telling me is we change a spreadsheet, we change the logic. We don't have to recompile a bunch of code. We just change the spreadsheet, change the logic, and push that back into production. So that changes the game for those of you participating right now. You guys can keep entering orders, but now you can go up to, let's say, $14.99 before that VP level kicks in. And of course, we'll wake up our VP, hopefully, and he'll start approving those orders more quickly. But you can see some people have kind of figured out this game, and we have our grand totals over here. Let's see, on the east side, west side. And so we can see in our grand total screen right now, Craig is the total leader. Tony S. is the second place. In second place right now. They're really close, neck and neck. So you can see that they're really pounding the orders in. We have Jay Howell coming in third place. Jim Terrell, well, Bruno. You can see this is dynamically changing the leader as it goes. So you guys can hopefully understand what we're trying to do with the business process. And so we do have to kind of wrap things up, but I'm really excited to see how this game is working right now. So at this point, we have to end our quarter. The sales quarter is done. We have to declare an end to it. We've got to do our financial records. The game is over. So we declare the game over, and hopefully we'll figure out exactly who our winner is in this case. So looks like Craig, 155, you're our #1 sales rep. Team East was the top team. And also you'll notice that we have several winners we picked randomly from the contestants today. So Craig, can you come on down? Craig, 155, who was that? Here in the audience. Come on, you jog on down here. You're way in the back there, fantastic. So Craig, like it is in a lot of sales organizations, he's our top sales rep. He gets promoted, right? You're going to get promoted. You're going to be our vice president today. So as our vice president, you get to have the vice president's mobile device. So thank you very much for that. Fantastic. Thank you.
Good job.
For those of you who see your name up here, we do have a prize for you. Come see myself or John Atkins at the end. We have a gift certificate for those people who participated, put some orders in the system. We randomly picked winners to encourage those people to participate. Thank you guys very much. Chris Kennedy, Maria, Bruno, Chris Gibbs, and Peru. Now, at this point, we've wrapped up our game. I want to tell you guys thank you very much for the short time we've spent with you here on the live today. We ran the app and made it all work. That's fantastic. So it's always good to see when it runs. And one thing I want to make sure we wrap up with is what we really worked on here was the integration of business processes, business rules, and business events. You saw all that happen here in this one application. You saw the interaction of mobile devices interacting with the cloud with BRMS and EAP there. So this is the Intelligent Integrated Enterprise, and that was our focus of this demonstration, was to prove that point. So hopefully you guys like that. Thank you guys very much for your time. At this point, we'd like to welcome Dr. Mark Little on the stage. He's the leader of our R&D department for JBoss. Thank you very much, Mark. Come on.
Thanks, Burr and team. We just spent the best part of the day making sure that worked, and it seemed to work well. So in the last 15 minutes or so, I'm going to talk about some issues that are facing middleware in general, and specifically Java middleware, and give you an indication of how we're trying to address them in JBoss, in our products and in our community projects. So there are 5 main challenges for Java middleware, and I'm going to go through each one of these. So the first big challenge is the JVM and multi-tenancy. So for platform as a service, cloud and mobile, to really succeed, we need to have high density of applications. We need to be able to cram a lot of apps onto our mobile phones, and certainly a lot of apps into the cloud. Now, unfortunately, the Java stack and JVM in particular was never really architected for multi-tenancy. So the typical way in which you'll run an app in Java, obviously, is you'll have a single app per JVM. You'll have a single application server per JVM. The reason for that is typically the failure of a JVM is going to take down absolutely everything that's running in it. And you try and cram a lot more unrelated apps into the same JVM, and it's quite possible that the failure of one of those apps will take down the entire JVM and likewise take down all the unrelated apps. These are not the things that we obviously have today in modern operating systems. Maybe if you can remember in the good old days of Apple, when things were not multi-threaded, you might expect that. But today, we expect to be able to have operating systems that allow our services to run independently and fail and recover independently. So the JVM needs to change. This is going to happen. It's a no-brainer. It really has to. We need to get things that we expect from our operating systems, like red zone protection, independent failure modes, real-time deterministic scheduling. And we're working with other people in the community around things like OpenJDK and the Java SE 1.8 modularity standard that will be coming pretty soon to ensure this happens. The next big challenge we heard Craig mention earlier about NoSQL is big data and NoSQL. So we've released the JBoss Data Grid last week, and that's based around InfiniSpan. But that's not the end of the story. I mean, if any of you have looked at NoSQL and big data over the last year or two, you'll know that InfiniSpan is one part of that, but it's not going to address absolutely everything. So we're doing other work in other projects, such as ModeShape, which is a document-based, graph-based NoSQL implementation, which will eventually hopefully come into a product. But importantly, what we're doing in this space is going to be standards-based as well. We're working in lots of standards bodies where applicable. For instance, the JCP with JSR 107 and JSR 347, the data grids specification that we're leading. Manik Sutani, the leader of the InfiniSpan project, created that JSR and is driving that for us now. But there's also other things we're doing with Hibernate. If you haven't heard about it, Hibernate OGM, there was quite a lot said about that yesterday at JudCon. And as I said, ModeShape, and we'll be doing things around analytics as well. So you should expect to see a lot more from us over the next year or so in this area of big data and NoSQL. So the other 3 issues I'm going to spend a little bit more time on. One of the challenges that EE vendors have faced in the past is this perception that J2EE and then Java EE was extremely bloated. Well, again, Craig touched on this earlier. We believe that we have shown with EAP6 that this is simply not the case. It is very, very important to differentiate between the standard and an implementation. There's nothing in the EE6 standard that says you have to have a bloated implementation. Bloatware should be a thing of the past. If you want a bloated EE6 implementation, see me afterwards and I can probably point you at 1 or 2, but unfortunately you won't get them from us. It really is possible to have a lightweight, enterprise-ready EE6 stack. We released EAP6 last week, and that is that is the template, I think, for where EE6 and EE7 and beyond should be going in terms of implementations. We designed it from the outset with flexibility. It has very, very small footprints, which is why it's cloud ready. It's extremely fast. It grows with you. It has scalability built in, and it launches in a flash. So the next challenge that we face in the JVM world is the polyglot explosion. I think one of the really important changes that we made in the Java community process a few years ago was to allow more than just Java to run on the JVM. And since that point, we've seen an explosion of languages that are running on the JVM. Depending on your definition of a programming language, there are, at this point, up to about 24 different languages that can be run on the JVM, including Lisp, Scala, Ruby, Python, JavaScript. There's even an Ada implementation. If anybody can remember Ada, it's there. I mean, I haven't used Ada for about 20 years, and I was surprised when I found that. But what does this mean for developers? Particularly developers who want to write enterprise apps, because it's fine to say this new language is great for productivity when I'm writing Hello World, but ultimately, Hello World is a very, very small type of app, and you're going to want to do more than that. And we're seeing with a lot of these communities the kind of problem that we had with Java when it first came along. I mean, Java didn't come into creation and have J2EE as well. It took a long time for that to actually evolve, and depending on your point of view, it's taken well over a decade to get to the optimum implementation that we have today with EE6. So these new language communities are starting to have the same problems, whether it's with Clojure or Ruby or some of the other languages. They're starting to find that they want to grow to allow more complex apps to be developed, and they need things like reliability, scalability, messaging, transactions, etc. The things that we take for granted. I touched on this last year at the keynote as well. There are only really two ways of solving this, and I'll forward reference if you guys want to go into hear more details about this. Bob McWhirter and I are giving a talk on this on Thursday. But the two ways of addressing this are pretty obvious. You either implement the entire stack from scratch, as we did, or as most people did with Java back in like 96, 97, or you leverage what you've got. And we believe that leveraging what we've got is a lot better for the community, because these are, whether it's transactions, messaging, whether it's our entire EAP platform, these things are mature, they've been battle tested, and we should try and use these rather than start from scratch. So what this slide shows is, you've got the languages down the left-hand side as I look at it, and then down the right-hand side, we've got some projects that we've got going, some of which have been around for a while, some of which are relatively new. So Clojure, we have a project called Immutant that's working in that space. Salon is our own language, which we started about a year and a half or so ago, and I can announce that is on OpenShift now. We've got a new project called Escalante, which is working in Scala. It's got Scala in the name, just in case you didn't notice that. Then we got TalkBox, and I'll come back to TalkBox in a second. And there are other things that are going to go on in the JavaScript area and Python. And we will probably be looking at other languages that come along, and we'll identify them based on the communities and how much we think our customers will want to use these things. But the way in which we're approaching this polyglot is very much driven by the success we've had with TalkBox. If you haven't looked at TalkBox, take a look at it. If you're into Ruby and you haven't looked at TalkBox, definitely take a look at it. But what Bob McWhirter and the team did with TalkBox was not come at this from the point of view of Java developers trying to ram home to Ruby people how they should use transactions or messaging, etc., but try and come at this from within their community, become one with the Ruby community, if you like. And TalkBox has been extremely successful as a result. It's now going to be available in as an early access in the next release of WFK. And we're using that same approach for all of these other languages, from Immutant through to and including Salon. Those of you who were in the keynote last year will maybe recognize most of this slide. But this pretty much just shows pictorially what I've mentioned before. We're leveraging what we've got already, whether it's with mobile, we've got Aero Gear here, or other non-Java or certainly non-EE frameworks. We believe that JBoss platforms and projects are the best place to run your app, whatever language it's implemented in. On the right-hand side, as I look at it again, the little Lord of the Rings type character there is just an icon for a project that we announced about a year or so ago called Cape Dwarf. There's been some talks at JudCon in India and JudCon this week as well. But basically, Cape Dwarf is a Google App Engine API that allows you to run your GAE apps on OpenShift on EAP6. So again, exactly what we did with Spring and others, open choice. We believe we're the best place to run these apps. OK, so the final challenge that all middleware, not just Java, has to solve is that of constrained devices. And again, I spoke about this last year when in the demo we had AS7 and Infinispan running on plug computers. Since then, there have been further advances in this area, and hopefully some or all of you will recognize one or both of these devices here. We have a Raspberry Pi, which is about a $30 device on one side, and we've got a BeagleBoard, which I think is about $150 on the other side. Both of these devices are less powerful than the plug computers we saw last year, but they have both seen probably much more massive adoption than the plug devices. But if you look at their capabilities, they are streets ahead of the devices that you would have had at your fingertips 12 years or so ago. They're at least as comparable with a laptop that you might have had a decade ago. And back then, we wouldn't have had any second thoughts about running a full J2E stack on your laptop, doing some editing at the same time, and maybe even running a word processor. I mean, I know that I did that 10, 12 years or so ago. Yet today, if you were to suggest that to people, that we should do that on a device that's only got 256 mega memory or maybe 512 mega memory, they'd laugh at you. They'd say, that's ridiculous. So, as I said, we did a bit of this on the keynote last year. So hopefully, if you've seen that or you're present, this isn't necessarily that much of a surprise. But I would like to announce that, relevant to what I said earlier about bloatware no longer exists, at least where Java and JBoss is concerned. We do have AS7 and implicitly EAP6 running on a Raspberry Pi today and a BeagleBoard. Completely unmodified, and it is the full Java EE stack. It's not a cut-down profile. It's not the web profile. It's the full profile with transactions, web services, and everything that entails. Unfortunately, the Raspberry Pi couldn't be with us today to accept your plaudits. These things are extremely hard to get. They're worth their weight in gold, and the person we had it from wanted it back. So I did take some photographs just to prove that, I'm not making this up. There it is on one side. The other picture, which we've kind of blown up a little bit of, is the team running top on the device itself, just to show the top 4 entries on that top. The top one is Java, and that was AS7 running on the Raspberry Pi. So we really did do it. So what does this all mean? Well, it's always difficult looking into the future, but I think we can make some pretty confident predictions. The Internet of Things is here today. We're all surrounded by these devices. We've probably got, on average, 2 or 3 in our possession now. Java and the JVM will continue to play a leading role. Yes, there are challenges ahead, and we need to address those challenges. JBoss Technologies, as we have done for the past decade, we are driving that agenda now. We have solutions for some of these challenges in our products today. We are working on solutions in the community for others, and they will make their way into products. We continue to believe that, whether it's JBoss Everywhere or Open Choice, that our platforms are the best place to run whatever your language. If it's running on a JVM, you can pretty much run it on JBoss, and we believe you should. It really is a great time to be a JBoss user and contributor, whether you're interested in Java, Ruby, Lisp, Python, JavaScript. We're trying to address all of those communities. So, if you've heard anything in this keynote, seen anything in the keynote, been to JudCon, or you'll see anything in the next few days that piques your interest, come along. Go to jboss.org, get in touch with one of our sales guys or somebody here, one of the JBoss engineers, and get involved with the community, because the community is really, really important to us. Our customer base is extremely important to us. So please get involved. And with that, I'd like to hand back to Craig to finish up.
Wow, we've been busy the last year. I hope you guys enjoyed this. You'll see a lot of this all this week, and most of the development team, a lot of the product management team is here. You can interact with them, ask them lots of questions. But it's not just our team at Red Hat. It gets back to community. It gets back to the ecosystem. So this is an example of some of the both partners and customers who are participants with us in the community, using the products, experiencing it, contributing code back upstream. And all of these people on this, all these companies on this slide have speaking roles, are running sessions, are running birds of a feather. So we encourage you guys to interact with all of our ecosystem and all of our partners and the community as well. So welcome, have a great week, and I look forward to talking to you while you're here.